For many years, Boston's harbor was considered one of the dirtiest in America, but through hard work for nearly the last half a century, the harbor has undergone a complete renaissance. Today, it's one of the country's cleanest harbors and a model for the nation. I'm Nathan O'Leary for Comcast Newsmakers at Suffolk University's downtown Boston studio, and joining me is the Executive Director of the Boston Harbor Association, Julie Wormser. And welcome, Julie, to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about the history and the mission of the Boston Harbor Association.
Boston Harbor Association started in 1973 with the mission of cleaning up the harbor. Back then, if you fell in the harbor, you'd have to go to the hospital. You were falling into raw sewage. So we've spent nearly 40 years. That is now done. 20 years ago, we started working on a harbor walk that spreads 40 miles from Winthrop through Dorchester, and that now provides access to one of the most beautiful harbors in the world.
40 years, 40 miles. Now let's talk about Summer on the Waterfront. What is that and why are you doing it now?
Well, you know, when we were little, I'm sure you came to the harbor, you looked down, there was garbage, it smelled.
It was horrible.
It was horrible.
It really was.
When I was in college, I remember going on a sewage tour by the Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, and there's this big plume coming right out of Deer Island of sewage from 43 towns and cities going right into the harbor. They turned that off Christmas Day, 1991. Now the harbor's returned. You can swim any day except for after a major storm.
Right.
And there's beautiful restaurants, museums, etc. along the water. And we want to bring people back to say, hey, it's changed, come back, it's an extraordinary experience.
So what are some of the highlights of Summer on the Waterfront?
Summer on the Waterfront lasts from June 1st to September 1st. We're kicking off with a party in East Boston. We'll have an arts festival in late July, and we'll have fireworks over the harbor on Labor Day weekend.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And meanwhile, there's thousands of events to do between now and then.
And thousands of events because it's not just your organization. There's lots of organizations taking part in this. Can you talk about all those relationships?
Absolutely. So we're working with a couple dozen state agencies, City of Boston, nonprofits, waterfront businesses, and basically we're promoting what has already come to the harbor. Really, there's just a lagging perception. It is already one of the most beautiful places. Boston should be seen as a world-class coastal city.
What's next for the Boston waterfront?
Well, there's a lot of exciting new development on South Boston and East Boston. We have cleaned this place up. Now it's time to play. There's a lot of new businesses coming in. South Boston is one of the most rapidly developing places in the country. It's a very exciting, creative place to be. So both we need to play there. We also need to worry about sea level rise. So we're working on that as well.
And that's the future. So if people are coming here, everybody knows something along the waterfront, for instance, the aquarium. But how do you get them to walk the rest of the waterfront? How do you get them to make that connection? So
June 1st, summeronthewaterfront.org launches.
Okay.
That is a go-to tool to put together a day, a weekend, a whole summer of events. We'll have maps, lists of things to do, games to play to get free prizes. Everything we're doing is to get people to come back to the waterfront, have new experiences, and, spend an entire week and never run out of things to do.
When you talk about 40 miles, I think we need to define that. 40 miles from what to what? The
Neponset River that separates Dorchester and Quincy, and you can go all the way through Logan Airport to Winthrop. And starting next year, what's next? We'll do a 40-miler ultramarathon connecting the two.
Nice job. All right, Julie Wormser, Executive Director, Boston Harbor Association. Definitely thank you for being with us, and thank you for being with us for Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Nathan O'Leary.